What is up, my friend? Hey, it is Ryan, and this is the Studio Sherpas podcast. All right, hey, if you're watching this video, thank you for watching. If you're listening to this audio from the video or audio from the podcast board thing, thanks for listening. Thank you for being here. This is a solo episode. This episode is unscripted. I'm going to call this one unscripted because I have zero notes. I have one thought in my mind. If you're new to the show, welcome. I love guests. I love that you're here. This show is all about how to grow your video business. I'm here to be your guide. I'm here to be a Sherpa. I don't know how to climb a mountain like an actual one, unless there's just a trail and I can walk up the trail. But in the world of running a business, running a video production business, I've been doing that for 16 years. I have a team here based near Detroit, Michigan, and we've had some highs, we've had some lows, we've had lots of mediums, and my hope is to help you in the business side of your business and to teach you what I've learned along the way, the successes, the failures, all that. So let's think metaphorically, the mountain, if your business was a mountain, I don't know how your business, but if the journey, let's go with journey of your business lives on a mountain, I want to help you. I want to be your guide. And then we translate that for our video clients, right? The client work that we do, people that call us and say, hey, we need a video. My job to these potential clients is to be their guide, right? And I want to help you do that same thing for them. So instead of selling to people, instead of trying to get them to buy something that they don't actually want, helping them get clarity, helping me understand what it is that they actually need, what is their problem, and seeing if we can solve it. And if we can't, see if there's something that we can help them with, somebody we can introduce them to, or something that we know of that could help them on their own journey. So Studio Sherpas, I think, has is it a double entendre? Is that the right word? That's a big word for me. I like to use big words, especially when I use them the right way. But I think there's multiple meanings. There's I want to be your guide or one of your guides in your journey as a video business owner, and then I also want us to be guides for the people that hire us, so that we can be deemed helpful. And I don't usually use the word deemed either, but I deem this episode. So welcome to this episode. I'm going to call it the unscripted episode. I'm going to finish my coffee here. This is so unprofessional. It's just, if I had a script, it would say don't drink your coffee while you're doing the episode, but I don't. So here is the question for this episode. I'm going to look to see if I had beard hairs falling out onto my shirt. I don't think so. So this is the question. This is the question that I want to answer on this episode. If I was just starting out today, what would I do in my business? What would I do to get my business going? Video business, right? So, that's a good question. Wow, I stumped myself. What the heck would I do? Where would I start? This conversation, this question kind of stems from, I had a coaching call earlier today, and one of the questions was, it was loaded with all sorts of hey, should we be doing LinkedIn? What things on social should we be doing? What about email marketing? What about ads? What about SEO? All of these different things. I love all of those things. I love learning about all of those things. My first bunch of years into my business, I built our website, so I learned HTML, coding. I just, when I was a kid, I coded computers. I just love that stuff. It's like building, right? Building blocks and I puzzles. I like that stuff. I have loved learning all of the things like coding and, I don't want to say all the things hiring an employee, all the contracts, and I don't like that stuff. But I have liked the elements to say hey, if we're going to hire somebody, what is the process? What is the best way to do that? What is the worst way to do that? What are other people doing? I love all aspects of this business, and that's what's helped make us successful. Is that I don't think I've shied away from any like challenge that we've had. I'm like, all right, well, let's figure this out. People would call them problems, but I would call them challenges. I'm a eternal optimist, but it is true. I just look at stuff like that, like, well, it's not a problem. Like there is a solution, right? So like, let's just think about like, what could the solution be? That's the way I'm wired, and like it or not, that's just the way I am. It's fun when my wife and I talk about stuff, because she isn't so much like that. Although she would say that she's maybe more optimistic than I think she is, but I love her to death. She's the best. But we disagree on some things. And she never listens to this show, so I could say whatever I want. There are times where the show might be playing. I don't play the show typically, but if I have a guest on that she might know, I'll just start it. I'll start the episode, and then she just like looks over at me and is like, "Are you seriously gonna make me listen to this? Throw me a bone, woman. Jeez." Yeah. Anyway, all aspects of building a business, I have loved that. If I'm to rewind and start from scratch, there's so many things out there, right? All of the social networks, all of the, the ways that you can use email, ads, using YouTube as an SEO or a search engine, and, just all of the things. So if I'm just starting out, there are some things that I would do right at the very beginning. One thing is, and this is what I did. I mean, granted, we didn't have, I guess Facebook probably did exist when I started my business, but it was a little like don't use Facebook for your business. That's what it was like. So early on, right when I started meeting with people. I started meeting with competitors. I started meeting with, the way my story goes, before we got into corporate work 8 years ago, I was doing a little bit of everything for about 6 months, and then I shot my first wedding, and then I said, this is how I want to build my brand. So we built the brand on wedding films, and as soon as I made that decision, I was like, okay, my best buddy in the industry was the one that introduced me to weddings, and so I asked him a million questions. Then I knew he knew a photographer friend, so I had lunch with him, and then with his wife too, because she did photography too, and then they're referring me business, and so I'm doing some work over here, and then I'm meeting a planner, and then I'm asking her questions, and then I'm meeting another planner, and then I get involved in an association that's all about events, weddings and events, and so I'm meeting all of these people, and so I've just I've focused my niche to I want to do like high-end luxury weddings where people are going to pay a lot of money for. That sounds like it would be amazing. And so I spent all of my time for the first 5 years of my business lunching and coffeeing. I don't know if those are verbs, but that's helping, offering advice, seeking advice, just building relationships with people in the industry. And those people all became powerhouse referral people for me. Some were amazing referrers, and others, I might get 1 or 2 referrals. Well, I might get 1 a year. And back in those days, if I had 30 or at most 40 weddings in a year, that was a really good year for us. And so doing the math, I was like, well, I just need, if I wanted to do 30 weddings, do I know 30 people? Am I friends with 30 people in this industry that could all refer me one job? I'm like, yeah, I know more than 30 people. And then there were some of those people that photographers and coordinators, and then actually a couple of venues that we would get 5 or 6 or 7 referrals that ended up being jobs from these people. This is how I had success early on. There is no doubt about it. I remember, this is a great story. I remember going back and forth over The Knot. TheKnot.com is like a wedding website. It was a magazine back when magazines existed. Just kidding. Serious, whatever. I had reached out a former bride of mine this first year I started shooting weddings. She's like, oh, I'm in the forums, and you should totally think about advertising. I think it'd be really great for you. And I was like, okay. So I looked into advertising on the Knot's website, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is, I don't know if I can, I mean, it's $80 a month. And that, I just laugh. I'm so thankful today to be in a different spot than I loved where I was at back then. But I just laugh because I'm like, $80. I mean, that's, you can try something out for $80 a month. That's not a risk, Ryan. But back then, we didn't have any money. I mean, we were living off of, previous to this job, we were living off a $22,000 salary that I was making, just killing it, slaying all of the dragons. So $80 a month was a lot. And I remember I was like, I was asking the lady, I'm like, well, hey, if I do, can I just not pay for the first couple of months? And then she's like, no, you can't do that. I was like, but if you're not sending me leads or they're not, how about when I get the first one, then she's like, no, that's not how it works. I was like, oh. So I signed up very hesitantly, scared. I was like, oh, this is so much money. And then I got a booking, and then I got another booking, and then another, and it was like just another source of clients, of work, of jobs. Eventually, that kind of work dried up, referrals from the knot, because our pricing got too much, and the type of rides that were there in our area at the time, just we were out of budget for most of them. So ads worked for us for a little while when our prices were lower. And then as we grew, they didn't work for us anymore, at least not with the knot. Fast forward to today. We've pivoted. We're not focused on weddings. We haven't been focused on weddings. We still do weddings. We do 1 or 2 a year, and they're always epic and awesome. And usually our referrals from people that we did weddings with from a long time ago. Today we're working with businesses, and it has been a very big challenge for us to figure out our social footprint, our online presence, meaning like with social media and Facebook ads and just all of the different options in order to promote what we're doing, to try to promote what we're doing. It's been really hard. We have not figured it out. We know there has not been a magic bullet for us. We've tried Facebook. We did Facebook ads. We're on Instagram. And when I say we've tried these things, I don't think we've had an awesome strategy. So I will say that. But we haven't seen any traction. If I saw any traction, I'd say, okay, this is where our people are at. So one of the challenges with the kind of work that we're doing, because we're working with businesses and we're telling stories, and really any business that has a story that is passionate about what they're doing is of a certain size, so they work with a certain kind of budget. There's so many industries that fall into that category. Passionate. Have a story that they could use to connect with their audience. Those are our people. So it's still a pretty general list. The more you can focus your list, the better off you'll be. The more you can focus your niche, the better off you will be. You'll just know exactly who to speak to. So when we're marketing to people in the wedding industry, it was very easy to know exactly who our client was. It was the bride. If we could speak to the bride, resonate with the bride, or the bride's mom, we're a shoo-in, right? That's who we needed to speak to. Now that we're working in the business world, and we're not just like, oh, we only work with higher education institutions based in the Midwest and the business schools. Like that would be pretty, and doing marketing videos for the business schools in order to increase enrollment. That's very specific, right? So we could build our business around that. That's not the niche. We are focusing. We do have some focus. So public relations companies based in Michigan, food and beverage. We've started to do some work with a few different brands around this area. And so that's kind of where we're spending some time. But we spin our wheels. We spend so much time trying to figure out, how many videos should we be posting? How many how many posts a week or a month do we need to do? And what are the attention-grabbing things that we need to write to get people to want to click on our stuff and watch? And who do we need to tag? And there's just so many things. And because we haven't found a magic bullet, we've hired consultants, we've had help, and we're focused on LinkedIn this year. We're really just we're gung-ho, we're trying it, and we're investing time, lots of time creating content. And we've hired a consultant to guide us through this and to help us get success instead of us just trying it on our own, which we've done with all those other platforms, and it just hasn't worked yet. So I always go back to, this is a side idea. We're trying to create a process that is repeatable, that we can easily do, and we're going to measure and make sure that, hey, are we getting traction? So every quarter, at the end of this quarter, we're going to just look and say, like, hey, is this working? If not, like, what do we need to do differently? So we're just going to dedicate, I think, at least at this point, this year, really focus on growing LinkedIn, at least for the first 2 quarters. And if it just is terrible and like we're getting no traction at all, then we're just going to throw that aside. But I say that we're putting some eggs in that basket. We're not really putting eggs in Facebook or LinkedIn Facebook or Instagram or YouTube right now. We might throw some posts there that we've built in LinkedIn, maybe, but we're going there. And then it's all about, okay, reaching out to past clients, asking for referrals, going to networking events. We're a part of a couple of different associations, and just being involved and being available and strategically saying, like, hey, there's a video that we'd love to donate to this association in exchange for, fill in the blank. Reaching out, having lunch, having coffee, getting face-to-face time with people in the industries that we are wanting to work with. Food and beverage, public relations, that's who we're kind of schmoozing. That's a bad word. That's who we're wanting to hang out with, provide value in conversation, going to workshops, going to conferences where I host like a monthly breakfast here at our studio. And what else? These are the things, if I were to start today, these are the things that I would really focus on. I feel like as business owners, and raise your hand if you're guilty of this, as a business owner of a video production company, we want to make our video. It's sweet. We want to put it online. We want people to see it online and be like, dude, I saw that video. It is awesome. Here's $10,000. I want you to do the same thing for me. That's what we want that to happen. Because then you're not selling. You're not convincing somebody that there's a return on their investment. There's no, faking it till you make it. It's just like, here's the thing. If you want a thing like that, I can sell you a thing like that. I can produce a thing like that. Do you want the thing? It costs this much money. Cool. Yeah. All right, great. That's what we want to happen. We want to stay behind our computers editing, or we want to stay behind the camera shooting, and just stay in those lanes. But the challenge, the problem with that is, if you want to be a business owner, you have to get out from behind the camera. You have to get out from behind the computer, and you actually need to go out. You need to go outside. You need to have video Zoom calls with your potential clients instead of just texting them or just emailing them or avoiding a phone call. A Zoom call, video call is way easier than a phone call in my mind. I prefer that. I hate the awkward silences on a phone call. I don't like them. I would rather sit silently across from people. That's just more comfortable for me. I don't know why. My challenge to you is that you have to get out from your cave, your studio. You need to find associations. You need to find workshops, and the workshop doesn't need to be how to grow your video business. Although if I was offering that workshop, you should come to it. But what about like digital marketing in the 2020s, or how to grow your email list, or how to be more productive with your online business, or with your service-based business. Those kinds of events that come around to your city, you should be going to some of those. You should be offering to film some of those for just to get in, or volunteering to be an usher at a conference that comes by, so that you can rub shoulders with the people that you want to learn from, grow with, help with your video services. They need to see you. That's one of your unique selling propositions, your USP. That is one of the things that makes you unique, so that you're not having to compete, so you don't have competitors. It's like people are going to buy you. They're not going to buy all of the, your sweet website, your sweet videos. At the end of the day, they're going to buy you. If they know you, if they like you, if they trust you, they will buy from you. If your work is halfway decent. I remember, just over all of the years of being in business, how many people would get hired? I would always ask, like, if we didn't get hired for a job, I would say, like, hey, what's, just curious, like, who you went with and, like, what, why, I would ask. And they would say, whoever, and then sometimes I would talk to that person and ask them, and they're like, oh, yeah, we charged them this much. And then I would look at the work, and I'm like, oh, it's not that good. Like, the stuff that we would do is better. Why? And there's a guy that I just met. He's in our community. I just met him. He was telling me, he's like, oh yeah, we just hired we almost hired a video. And I'm like, oh, cool. And I'm like, hey, like, I would love to bounce, if they're presenting ideas to you or anything like that, I'd love to give you feedback, my own. And he's like, well, I haven't hired him yet. So like, maybe you could do the video for us. And I'm like, yeah, totally. Well, I sent him some stuff, and I really was trying to do a workshop with him. That's where I was going with it. But I was really soft sell as a new guy in our community to me, and I just wanted to be friends with him, really is what I wanted. Even though the project was, it's $15,000 to $20,000 project, right? So he emails me the day after, and he's like, oh, hey, we booked this other company, maybe next time. So this is like literally 2 days after I met him, they booked this other company. I looked at this other company's stuff, and he had said in his email something along the lines of like, yeah, it looks comparable to these other guys. And I look at their stuff, and I'm like, it's not that good. It's not. Like, what are you talking about? I was mildly offended. I'm looking at some of the interviews that these guys ran, and oh man, hopefully if you're doing interviews, you're lighting properly. You're not using mixed light and mixed temperature, whatever. Yeah, okay, I digress. My point being, he liked these guys. He knows these guys. He trusts these guys. Why is he going to spend more time trying to get to know me, trying to figure out? He already knows, likes, and trusts these guys. The price is right. He saw some samples that I did, and he's like, yeah, it's to him, he didn't see a difference. But guess what? If he knew me, liked me, and trusted me, then it would be a deeper conversation. Then he would say, like, I'm going to hold off on these guys. I had no idea that you did video, but I love you. I think you're great, and blah, blah, blah. You need to get out. You need to find opportunities for you to leave your work and do some business development. Join a board. Get on serve on some board that's directly related, right? So if you love website design, if you love something that's not like video, if there's something else, and you're like, man, if we could get hired by restaurant companies, people in the restaurant industry for the rest of my career, I would love that. I love food. I love it. Then you can go and mingle with those people, join an association of restaurateurs, and serve on the board. You can do all that. You don't actually have to have a restaurant. I don't know what the rules are for specific things, but a good friend of mine served as the president of the photographer board of something. I said photographer. I never say photographer. The Photographers Association. He was the president of this group. He was a video guy. He didn't do photography. He didn't offer photography. He was the president, and he was there to serve. He was there to help. He was my point being, if there's an industry that you want to be a part of, like, dive in head first. If you love a particular industry, if there's a niche that you're like, yeah, we could serve that industry and just do amazing stuff, then get involved. Let people meet you. And you know what? Like, not everybody's going to like you. Like, that's just, I don't know if that's a newsflash or what, but the people that do, those are the people that will hire you. And not all the time, but more times than not. And wouldn't you rather people hire you that know, like, and trust you versus having to trick people that you're a good person, having to trick people that you are trustworthy and having, or just like be a little sneaky or whatever. Like you want people just to say like, man, I love everything that you're about, and I want to work together. That's going to be way more fun than having somebody look at you and like, why are you charging this much? And how do we know that you're going to deliver? And if I could spend the rest of my career not working with people that are skeptical of us, that's what I'd rather do. So in the meantime, I have to try to earn people's trust, and I do that through case studies and referrals and testimonials and all of those things. That's the whole thing, where I'm trying to build trust with somebody who might not know me at all. But if I'm introduced to somebody, if there's a referral, then immediately there is an element of trust, right? And then it's up to me to get them to like me and to know me. And I'm hoping that if they get to know me, that they'll like me. But if they don't like me, that's fine. They can hire somebody else, because I definitely don't want somebody hiring me that doesn't like me, right? So start with the original question on this unscripted episode of the Studio Sherpas podcast. If I was going to start my business today, what would I do? And that's really the heart of it. You don't have a business if you don't have clients. You don't make any money if you don't have clients. You won't have any work. I mean, you might be doing work if you don't have clients, but it's not the kind of work that you want to be doing. You want to be doing work that you're getting paid for. So any lull that I've had in my business, and I've had 3 significant lulls in the past 16 years, it's because we haven't had an outbound strategy to continue to meet new people, to network. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, why don't we have a process for that? When we get busy, I take my foot off the gas, and I'm like, okay, team's busy, I shouldn't be out networking, I'm just going to slow down. And then what I've learned about myself is I kind of subconsciously know, like, okay, we're getting kind of slow, so let me get back out there and get more names and, get more leads and whatever. But there have been a couple of times where I didn't see the writing on the wall, and it was too late. And so we're borrowing money, we're using credit cards, we're doing all of this stuff where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is this business going to survive? And fortunately enough, we have. And it's hard. It's hard when you don't have clients. So if I was going to start today, that's what I would do. I would invest in people. I wouldn't worry about SEO. I wouldn't worry about having a perfect website. I wouldn't worry about, should I be going on Facebook Live? Should I be doing webinars? Should I be doing, all of the social, like, which marketing app should I get that can connect all of my social media channels? Nope. I would be bypassing all of that stuff. I might be using them to say, hey, great to connect with you on LinkedIn. Can I buy you lunch? Can I buy you coffee? Are you going to are there any networking events that you know of where people do the thing that you do? Because I want to know more about that industry. I want to get plugged in. I want to serve. I want to help. That will grow your business. This is probably the shortest episode of the Studio Sherpas podcast. You're welcome. This is episode 164. So show notes for this episode, you can find those at studiosherpas.com/164. And I am prepping a brand new workshop that I'm going to be hosting, where I'm really going to show you some of the pillars, some of the things that I've done in my business to help us have, I don't want to say endless referrals, but have really helped us in that regard. So you can go to studiosherpas.com/workshop, and you can get notified when that workshop is live. Thanks so much for being here. Take care, and keep on climbing. Climb that mountain. Happy to do it together. Let me know if there's any way that I can help you in your video business. Feel free to leave a comment below on this video. If you're on YouTube, like it, subscribe. I got a plan for YouTube. So if you are YouTube, I'm coming for you. All right? Mark my words. Coming for you, YouTube. Or I'm coming for YouTube. How about that? That's all I got. Take care, my friend. Thanks for hanging out today, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.